Imagine for a second that your brain is the most advanced smartphone on the planet. I mean, literally the ultimate piece of tech. Every single thought, every feeling, every reaction you have is really just a different app opening and closing on your mind's operating system. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to look at an ancient but honestly brilliant user manual for the human mind that maps out exactly how this internal hardware works. It's called the Abhidhamma, and it's for sure going to change how you see your own thoughts. Okay, let's dive into this. On our agenda today, we're covering 6 core areas. 1, the mind's operating system. 2, analysis versus synthesis. 3, the default settings. 4, unwholesome mental malware. 5, the beautiful mind factors. And finally, 6, mastering your mind. So, Section 1, the mind's operating system. To really get this, we first need to understand the basic architecture of our mental device. In this framework, consciousness is like the operating system itself. It's the environment where the whole shebang happens. The mental factors, on the other hand, are the specific apps actually running on that operating system. Now, the framework we are exploring today comes from text provided by the Atula Dasana Dhamma school. They study these incredibly precise, ancient teachings that categorize human thoughts with a level of detail that honestly rivals any modern computer scientist. They obviously didn't have smartphones back then, but they absolutely understood coding, the coding of the mind. According to these texts, your mind doesn't just have one single operating state. It actually has 89, or sometimes up to 121, distinct types of consciousness. Think of these as different smartphone models or specific operating modes. Depending on what you're experiencing, whether you're in a do not disturb hyperfocus mode studying for a test or totally distracted just scrolling through videos, your mind boots up one of these 89 to 121 specific operating states. Moving right along to Section 2, analysis versus synthesis. So how do we actually figure out which apps are running on which operating modes? Well, the text gives us 2 primary diagnostic tools. Now, what's really interesting about this is how perfectly it mirrors modern tech troubleshooting. Over on side A, we have Sampeyoga Naya, which is analysis. This is like taking a specific app, let's say the anger app, and analyzing exactly which of the 89 operating modes it's capable of running on. Then on side B, we have Sangahanaya, which is synthesis. This is the exact reverse. It's taking one specific operating mode, like a joyful consciousness, and listing out every single mental factor or app that is currently running on it. For this explainer, we're going to focus heavily on analysis, really looking at the apps themselves. Section 3, the default settings. Look, before you download any crazy games or social media apps, your phone comes with default system settings, right? Well, your mind is exactly the same. Let's look at the foundational apps that come pre-installed. The text identifies 7 essential mental factors called universals. These are basically the core background processes of your mind. They associate with literally all 89 or 121 types of consciousness. Even in the most basic, bare-bones operating states, these 7 universals are running. You can't delete them. They're what allow you to experience anything at all. Then we step up to these 6 occasionals. These are kind of like widget apps. They're incredibly useful, but they don't run on every single operating mode. For example, look at joy or beauty. It associates with 51 consciousnesses, like when you finally beat a super tough boss in a video game. Energy is running on 73. A really fascinating detail from the text is about decision or adhimokkha, which runs on 78 consciousnesses. The text explicitly notes that decision never, ever associates with doubt. Think about it. If the doubt app is open, the decision app immediately force quits. They literally cannot run at the same time. But as we all know, not every piece of software is actually helpful. So what happens when your mental smartphone downloads a virus, or you accidentally open a corrupted file? Section 4, unwholesome mental malware. This brings us to a really critical part of the system analysis, the unwholesome mental factors. According to the text, there are 14 of these unwholesome factors, and they associate with 12 specific unwholesome consciousnesses. Let's break down this malware. So the crucial point here is how this malware groups together to completely hijack your system. First up, we have the delusion quartet, which includes delusion, shamelessness, fearlessness, meaning fearlessness of doing something wrong, and restlessness. These 4 are brutal. They're common to all 12 unwholesome consciousnesses. If you're having a negative thought, the delusion quartet is running in the background. Then we have the greed group, which runs on consciousnesses rooted in greed. Notice conceit is here, but it doesn't always run. Next is the hatred quartet, containing hatred, envy, avarice, and worry. Imagine you see a friend get a brand new pair of sneakers you really wanted, and you feel that bitter jealousy. Yep, that's the envy app launching on a consciousness rooted in anger. And finally, the duel of sloth and torpor. You know when you feel zero motivation to do your homework and just want to stare at the ceiling? That malware duel's running. The text notes they're always present together in 5 prompted consciousnesses. Section 5. The beautiful mind factors. Thankfully, our minds aren't just susceptible to viruses. We also have access to the ultimate system optimizers. Let's shift gears to the beautiful mind factors. Whenever you're acting out of kindness, clarity, or generosity, you're actually booting up one of the 59 wholesome consciousnesses. These exist across different planes of reality in the Abhidhamma framework. You've got 24 in the sense sphere, which is basically our day-to-day human experience of eating, studying, and hanging out with friends. Then you have higher levels like 15 in the fine material and 12 in the immaterial planes, all the way up to 8 supermundane consciousnesses, which represent highly elevated, enlightened states of mind. So, what apps are running on these wholesome states? First, we have 19 universal beautiful factors. Just like the standard universals we talked about earlier, these 19 are present in all 59 wholesome consciousnesses. Anytime you have a good, positive thought, 19 beautiful optimization apps instantly launch to support it. We also have abstinences, which essentially means having the self-control to hold back from doing something wrong, present in 16 consciousnesses. We have the illimitables, like having boundless compassion for others, present at times in 28 consciousnesses. And finally, the ultimate optimization app, wisdom. Wisdom is a ridiculously powerful processor, and the text specifies it's present in 47 of these wholesome consciousnesses. Which brings us to Section 6, Mastering Your Mind. Now, we've talked a lot about numbers, groupings, and ancient terms today, but how does this map of consciousness actually help us right now in real life? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the entire point of the Abhidhamma text. Understanding analysis and synthesis isn't just about memorizing some ancient lists. It's about being able to look at your own mind in real time. When you feel that sudden spike of frustration because a game lagged, you can catch yourself and realize, the hatred app just opened on an unwholesome consciousness. By simply recognizing it, by doing a quick system diagnostic, you take back control. You can choose to force close that app and intentionally boot up a wholesome consciousness with the Wisdom app instead. You stop being just a passive user, and you become the master developer of your own brain. Which brings us to our final thought. You have a limited amount of battery life every single day. Every time you let envy, worry, or sloth run in the background, it drains your energy. But when you actively choose to launch those beautiful factors, your system runs smoother, faster, and just better overall. So, if your mind really is the most advanced smartphone in the world, which apps are you going to choose to leave open today?